Welcome to Coffee Break. Thoughtful conversations for a busy world. Let's begin.
It is roughly 2:14 p.m. on a random Tuesday.
A very specific time.
Right. You know the feeling. You are sitting at your desk, and the artificial glow of whatever, like, spreadsheet or design mock-up or quarterly report you're supposed to be working on is literally starting to physically strain your eyes.
Oh, the mid-afternoon wall.
Exactly. You have hit that wall where your brain just feels like it is wading through wet concrete.
Yeah, that 2 p.m. brain fog is brutal.
It really is. But instead of, pushing through or taking a walk to reset or just powering down and grabbing a coffee, you have a completely different window open on your screen.
Carefully hidden behind the work applications, I assume.
Oh, totally hidden. And you have, 3 tabs of real estate listings open.
I think we've all been there.
Right. And not just local listings either.
Yeah.
You are currently looking at a 3-bedroom, slightly dilapidated farmhouse in a rural town in Vermont that you have never actually visited.
Or maybe it's some sleek, incredibly overpriced industrial loft in a Seattle neighborhood you've only ever seen in movies.
Yes. And in your head, you are already mentally placing your furniture. Like, the couch goes here, the plants go by the window.
You're fully visualizing it.
You are. You are daydreaming about a totally new life, a new morning routine, maybe a new local coffee shop where the barista just, magically knows your order.
You're imagining the version of you that lives in that house.
Exactly. And it feels like actionable planning. It feels productive. But a really fascinating piece of research we are looking at today, which is a piece titled The Geography of Solace, argues something completely different.
Yeah, it takes a much harder look at that impulse.
It does. It argues that what you are actually doing is engaging in this highly sophisticated, geographically masked form of psychological avoidance.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
It is. So, okay, let's unpack this. We love the fantasy of a fresh start because it lets us temporarily escape ourselves. And today's deep dive is all about looking at the actual neurological trick your brain is playing on you when you open that new Zillow tab.
And really diving into the core argument of this text, which is why moving to a new city won't fix your problems.
Which is both a harsh reality and, frankly, a necessary wake-up call.
It really is. And, the urge to just pack it all up, leave no forwarding address, and start entirely fresh is an almost universal modern impulse.
Oh, 100%.
We really want to validate that feeling right out of the gate because the urge to flee an unmanageable situation is actually an ancient hardwired survival mechanism.
Right. Fight or flight.
Exactly. But the fundamental thesis of the source material we are examining today is that changing our physical coordinates rarely, if ever, changes our internal reality.
Which makes sense, but it's annoying to hear.
It is. And we're looking at a phenomenon that actually has deep roots in addiction recovery circles.
Wait, really? Like addiction recovery?
Yeah, back in the early days of Alcoholics Anonymous, they actually coined a term for this exact impulse. They called it the geographical cure.
The geographical cure. That's a great phrase.
It was the mistaken belief held by a person struggling with alcohol that if they could just get out of their current town, away from their usual bars, their enabling friends, the stress of their current job, they would somehow be cured of their addiction.
Like the city was the problem.
Right. They believed the location was the disease. And what they discovered, time and time again, is that the addiction simply packed its bags and moved with them.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I have actually experienced a micro version of this geographical cure myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it perfectly illustrates the friction between physical space and psychological state. So a few years ago, I was facing this massive block on a writing project.
Writer's block is the worst.
It is. I was sitting in my home office, completely paralyzed by this blank page. It's utterly miserable. So I convinced myself that the problem was my office.
Of course. The room was the issue.
Obviously. The lighting was wrong. The chair was uncomfortable. The energy was just, stagnant.
So what did you do?
Well, I packed up my laptop, drove 20 minutes across town to this beautiful, sunlit, artisanal cafe, bought an overpriced matcha latte, sat down, opened my laptop.
And you wrote a masterpiece.
And I proceeded to doom scroll for 3 straight hours.
Oh, no.
Yep. I changed the terrain, but I brought the exact same anxiety and executive dysfunction with me.
It's so true, though.
It feels a lot like looking at a computer that has a deeply corrupted software bug. Like the code is entirely messed up, the programs keep crashing, the operating system is just failing.
Right, the system itself is broken.
Yeah. And instead of rewriting the code, you think you can fix the problem by just physically picking up the monitor and moving it to a different desk.
That is a perfect analogy. You are trying to solve a software problem with a superficial hardware adjustment.
Exactly.
The monitor might look better next to the window, the natural lighting might reduce the glare on the screen, but the moment you boot the machine up and try to run that compromised program,
A crash still happens.
yeah, that same fatal error message is going to flash across the display because the underlying programming hasn't been touched.
Right.
Yet, what's fascinating here is how insidious the geographical cure is, especially on a macro scale, like moving to a new city.
How do you mean?
Well, the physical process of the move actively masks the fact that the software is still broken. The logistics of relocation hijack your brain's processing power in a way that actually provides temporary, localized relief from emotional distress.
Because your prefrontal cortex is entirely consumed by, spatial and logistical problem solving.
Exactly. You are trading emotional processing for spatial processing. Let's look at the mechanics of that.
Right.
Moving is incredibly labor-intensive. It requires complex executive functioning. You're coordinating lease agreements, analyzing the spatial puzzle of a moving truck.
Well, the Tetris of loading a U-Haul.
It really is Tetris.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to transfer utilities, meticulously wrapping fragile items. These are highly engaging, concrete tasks with clear binary outcomes.
Right. You either successfully packed the box or you didn't.
Exactly. And when the brain is engaged in these concrete, solvable puzzles, it gets a continuous drip of dopamine.
Ah, so it feels good.
It mimics the neurological sensation of genuine life progress. Your amygdala, which is the fear and emotional processing center that is currently screaming at you about your burnout or your loneliness, it gets temporarily overridden by the prefrontal cortex managing the sheer volume of logistical demands.
So your brain is essentially saying, hey, we don't have the bandwidth to process existential dread right now. We have to figure out how to navigate this U-Haul through downtown traffic.
That is exactly what happens.
Wow. So you are so busy color-coding cardboard boxes and researching local DMV requirements that you literally do not have the time to feel the emptiness that made you want to move in the first place.
It is the ultimate productivity trap.
It really is. We convince ourselves that busyness equals healing. Projects have beginnings, middles, and ends, right?
Yeah.
And a move is the ultimate project.
Yes.
But emotional regulation, healing from systemic burnout, developing healthier relationship patterns, those are not projects.
No, they definitely are not.
They're ongoing, messy, nonlinear internal processes. Moving just gives us a tangible checklist to substitute for the intangible, deeply uncomfortable work of introspection.
And think about the purging aspect of moving.
Oh, yeah, the decluttering phase.
It is incredibly ritualistic. You go through your closet, you throw away old clothes, you donate that armchair you always hated, you shred old documents.
It feels amazing.
It does, because you are literally shedding physical weight, which tricks your nervous system into believing you're shedding emotional weight, too.
We use the physical environment as a proxy for the internal self.
Exactly. By throwing away an old sweater, the brain briefly registers the sensation of discarding the negative emotional associations tied to the era when you wore that sweater.
That makes so much sense.
But as the geography of solace points out, solace is not a place on a map, nor is it the absence of old clutter.
Right.
Solace is an internal state of regulation, acceptance, and peace. You cannot navigate to it using a GPS, and you cannot achieve it simply by decluttering your physical surroundings. So true.
To understand why this illusion is so potent, we need to examine what is actually happening in the mind when we visualize these new cities.
Okay, let's do that.
We are not just visualizing streets and buildings.
Yeah.
We are engaging in a radical form of psychological projection.
Okay, I want you, the listener, to pause for a second and really analyze your own fantasy city.
Yeah, really picture it.
Think about that place you scroll through when you are having a terrible week. The place you use as your mental escape hatch. What is the version of yourself that you picture living there?
That's the key question.
Really pull that avatar into focus. Are you waking up earlier? Are you suddenly a person who goes jogging at 6 a.m. along a waterfront?
Without hitting snooze once.
Right. Are you spending your weekends painting instead of binge-watching television? Are you more patient with your partner? Are you less anxious?
Notice the stark difference between the reality of your current life and the fantasy of that future life.
It's usually night and day. Because you aren't usually fantasizing about the gritty reality of a new municipality. You aren't dreaming about property taxes or the inevitable traffic jam.
Or the fact that you still have to do laundry and scrub toilets and pay bills.
Exactly. You are projecting an unburdened, highly optimized version of yourself into that space. The geographical location is merely the stage set. The real desire is to inhabit that new persona.
Man, that's so accurate. We want the morning jog and the newfound patience, and we have subconsciously decided that the only barrier to achieving those traits is our current zip code.
Which is incredibly convenient.
It's a wonderfully convenient, completely absolving excuse. I would absolutely be a marathon runner and a dedicated novelist, but unfortunately, the humidity in my current city simply forbids it.
It's the weather holding me back.
Or, I would have a vibrant social life, but the architectural layout of this town prevents me from forming deep connections.
By externalizing the problem, you externalize the solution. If the problem is the city, then the solution requires no fundamental shift of your habits, your coping mechanisms, or your self-awareness. It only requires a moving van.
Just hire some movers and you're fixed.
There is actually a fascinating, extreme manifestation of this psychological projection known as the Paris syndrome.
Oh, I've heard of this. It's wild.
It really is. It is a recognized psychological condition primarily experienced by tourists, historically noted among Japanese tourists, who arrive in Paris with an intensely idealized, romanticized expectation of the city.
Right. They expect the movie version.
Yes. They expect the cobblestone streets, the accordion music everywhere, the flawless bohemian aesthetic they've seen in films.
Emily in Paris vibes.
Exactly. And when they are confronted with the reality of Paris, which is a massive, bustling, sometimes dirty metropolis with rude waiters, overcrowded subways, and typical urban problems,
The reality check hits hard.
the cognitive dissonance is so severe that it induces actual psychiatric symptoms.
Wait, really? Like what kind of symptom?
People experience hallucinations, acute anxiety, dizziness, and tachycardia. Their geographical fantasy shatters so violently that it breaks their temporary grasp on reality.
That is just wild. And while most of us aren't experiencing full-blown hallucinations when we move to a new city, we are experiencing a micro version of that exact syndrome.
Very much so.
We arrive in the new city, expecting it to automatically upgrade our personality and solve our internal malaise, and the moment we encounter the mundane reality of our own unchanged habits in that new space, the cognitive dissonance hits us. The stage collapses.
And the source text uses very deliberate language here. The subtitle is, "Why Moving Cannot Save You."
Cannot save you.
The word save implies a rescue from an external threat. A knight saves you from a dragon. A lifeguard saves you from a riptide.
Right.
But what happens when the threat is internal? You cannot be rescued from your own psychology by changing your latitude.
Okay, but wait, I need to push back on this absolute framework just a little bit.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
Because saying moving cannot save you ignores a massive body of behavioral science. What about environmental psychology?
Okay, let's talk about it.
We know for a fact that our environments shape our behavior in profound ways. Like, if you want to stop eating junk food, the first piece of advice any expert gives you is to stop keeping it in your pantry.
Yes. Change the environment.
You change your environment to force a change in habit. So doesn't a completely new environment, new people who don't know your past, new routines, a different climate, a different cultural pace, doesn't that force us to break bad habit loops?
It can certainly disrupt them.
Right. If you are stuck in a deep, depressive rut in your current town, where every street corner is like a trigger for a bad memory, doesn't changing the terrain force you out of the rut? Can't a new city actually be the necessary catalyst for saving ourselves?
It's a great point, and what you're describing is the fresh start effect. It is a documented psychological phenomenon, and it is the exact scientific mechanism that keeps the geographical cure so tantalizingly plausible.
Because it works.
Right. Entering a novel environment does disrupt automatic, subconscious habit loops. Habits are formed through a cue routine reward cycle.
Okay.
So if your old route to work in your old city took you past the bakery where you always bought a pastry you were trying to quit, the visual cue of the bakery triggers the routine.
You see the bakery, you buy the croissant.
Exactly. When you move to a new city, that specific environmental cue is removed. You are suddenly thrust into a state of heightened neuroplasticity because your brain is forced to map new routes, interpret new social cues, and establish new baseline routines.
But isn't a window of neuroplasticity all you need?
Well,
Like if I get a 6-month window in a new city, without my toxic family nearby, without the toxic workplace that burned me out, couldn't I theoretically build the robust boundaries and healthy routines I need during that time? Why does the baseline inevitably return?
Because a window of opportunity is exactly what it provides, an opportunity, not a cure.
Ah, I see.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of the source text, why moving to a new city won't fix your problems, we have to understand the difference between situational habits and fundamental psychological architecture.
Okay, break that down for me.
A new city might absolutely help you change your coffee order. It might help you establish a new running route because the park is now closer to your apartment. It removes the superficial triggers.
Right.
But it will not fundamentally rewire an anxious attachment style. It will not cure the imposter syndrome that makes you overwork yourself to the point of exhaustion. It will not heal the deep-seated inability to set boundaries.
Cool.
If you lack the internal mechanism to say no to unreasonable demands in Chicago, you are going to lack the internal mechanism to say no in Austin. You will simply find new people to appease.
So the new environment just gives you a temporary honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
For the first few months, the sheer volume of novel stimuli your brain has to process navigating the subway system, learning the layout of the new grocery store, figuring out the social dynamics of your new office, all of that masks the underlying issues.
The noise of the new environment drowns out the internal signal.
But eventually, human beings adapt.
Yeah.
Hedonic adaptation kicks in, right?
Exactly. The novel becomes mundane. The new subway route becomes automatic. And the moment the cognitive load drops, the internal signal comes back online, loud and clear.
The baseline returns.
It always does. Your fundamental self, complete with your unhealed wounds, your specific coping mechanisms, your deepest insecurities, and your relationship patterns, they all unpack themselves right there in your new living room.
Oh, man.
This is the moment of the arrival of the ghost.
You realize you brought the ghost with you because you are the ghost.
Yes, you are the ghost.
You haunted your old apartment, and now you are haunting your new one. Going back to the computer monitor analogy, you move the monitor to the beautiful new desk with a great natural light.
You feel incredibly optimistic for a week.
But then Tuesday at 2:15 p.m. rolls around. You have to actually run the complex software program to do your job, and the program instantly crashes.
The backtrack has changed, but the main character and all of their internal structural conflicts remain exactly the same.
And that specific realization is uniquely devastating, isn't it?
It's incredibly painful. Imagine standing in the center of a beautiful, expensive new apartment in a city you dreamed of for years. You orchestrated this massive life change. You spent the money. You said the goodbyes.
You did all the work.
You did. And suddenly, on a random Tuesday, you feel the exact same hollow, suffocating ache, or the exact same overwhelming, paralyzing anxiety you felt back in your hometown.
That would just break you.
It is a profound type of grief because you have played your ultimate trump card. You pulled the ripcord, you made the grand dramatic gesture that was supposed to fix everything, and it failed.
The problem is still sitting there on the couch with you.
You are the common denominator in all of your geographic locations.
Right. Like if you struggle with pervasive loneliness because you are fundamentally terrified of vulnerability and intimacy, moving to a city renowned for its friendly culture isn't going to fix your isolation.
Not at all.
You will just be intensely lonely in a place where people smile and wave at you on the street while you keep them at arm's length.
Exactly. Or if you are burned out because you inextricably tie your entire self-worth to your economic productivity and output, moving to a slow-paced beach town isn't going to magically make you relax.
Oh, definitely not. You will just become intensely competitively productive about your leisure time.
You will become the person bringing a color-coded spreadsheet to the beach to track how optimally you are relaxing.
Measuring your heart rate to ensure you are achieving maximum chill.
Yes, because the geography changed, but the internal operating system dictating your relationship with rest did not.
That is painfully real.
Yeah.
So, okay, if we accept this premise that moving inherently cannot fix our internal psychological problems, does that mean all moves are doomed to end in Paris syndrome?
No, not at all.
Are we arguing that people should simply never leave their hometowns? Because obviously people move all the time and have incredibly successful, deeply transformative experiences that genuinely improve their lives.
Absolutely. The world is full of people who found their community, their purpose, or their peace by changing their location.
Right.
The source text isn't arguing a cynical position that moving is inherently futile or that human beings should remain static. It is arguing against the delusion that moving is a panacea for internal distress.
Okay. That's a key distinction.
This brings us to the most critical distinction in the entire discussion. It is not about whether you move, It is entirely about the intention driving the relocation.
Intention, okay.
We have to examine the difference between approach motivation and avoidance motivation.
Oh, this is the core difference between running toward a new life and running away from an old one.
Exactly. This is the physics of human motivation.
I like to conceptualize this difference using two very distinct forces, a magnet and a treadmill.
I love that analogy. Let's break down the magnet first.
Okay, so running toward something is like being pulled by a powerful magnet. There's a specific, positive external force drawing you in a defined direction.
Give me an example.
Like maybe it's a specific rare job opportunity that perfectly aligns with a career goal you have spent a decade cultivating.
Right.
Or maybe you are moving to be closer to a partner or an aging family member you deeply love and want to support. Or maybe you have a profound, genuine passion for a specific lifestyle that your current environment cannot support.
Like what?
Like you are a dedicated, highly trained mountaineer, and you're moving to the Rockies to be closer to the peaks you want to climb.
That makes perfect sense.
There is a tangible, concrete thing pulling you forward. Your motivation is additive.
In psychological terms, that is approach-oriented behavior. You are seeking to add something concrete to your life that cannot be accessed from your current coordinates. You are moving to engage with a specific existing reality.
Right, but running away. Running away is like being on a treadmill.
Oh, the treadmill is a perfect visual for this.
You are expending a massive amount of physical and emotional energy.
Yeah.
You are sweating. You are running as fast as your legs can carry you just to put distance between yourself and your past or your current stress or like the humiliation of a recent breakup.
But you aren't actually going anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you don't actually have a defined destination in mind. Your only goal is to be not here. You are just running in place.
It's burning energy.
Eventually, the adrenaline wears off. You get exhausted. The treadmill powers down. You look around and you find yourself in the exact same emotional space you started in. You haven't actually gone anywhere. You just tired yourself out.
The treadmill analogy perfectly captures the sheer exhaustion of avoidance coping.
It really is exhausting.
Let's look at how avoidance coping actually works neurologically, because it is a very tricky mechanism.
Okay.
When you experience distress in your current environment and you run away from it, you experience an immediate drop in anxiety.
Which feels like relief.
Right, and that drop in anxiety acts as negative reinforcement. Your brain learns, escaping the location relieves the pain.
But it doesn't solve the root cause.
Exactly. It doesn't solve the root cause of the pain. It actually strengthens the fear of the original stressor, making you even less capable of dealing with it the next time it arises.
Wow. So it makes you weaker, essentially.
When you run away, your focus is entirely consumed by the negative stimuli you're trying to escape. You're reacting to the past, not creating a future.
That is such a profound way to look at it.
And the fundamental flaw with running away from your internal problems is that your internal problems are exceptionally fast runners. They will always catch up.
They really will. So how do we know the difference?
What do you mean?
Because let's be honest, human beings are masters of self-deception. When we are in the thick of a crisis, running away can feel exactly like running toward.
We are very good at lying to ourselves.
We dress up our avoidance in the language of ambition. We say things like, I'm not running away from my inability to handle conflict at this toxic workplace. I am running toward the vibrant, collaborative culture of this new tech hub.
Right. We create a narrative that flatters our ego.
Exactly. How do we spot our own lie?
This raises an important question, and it requires a very uncomfortable level of self-interrogation.
I'm ready.
It offers a litmus test for the listener to apply to their own lives, and specifically to those late-night Zillow daydreams.
Oh, the farmhouse in Vermont.
Yes. To figure out if you are running toward or running away, we have to strip away the romanticized elements of the fantasy. We have to deliberately induce a little bit of Paris syndrome before we actually pack our bags.
We need to test the structural integrity of the desire.
Precisely.
Walk us through the test. How do we stress test the fantasy?
Ask yourself this specific question. If the new city suddenly lost its primary romanticized appeal, would you still want to be there? Let's say you are moving to Paris because you have convinced yourself it will cure your creative block and transform you into a prolific bohemian artist.
The classic fantasy.
What if you move to Paris and it rains for 3 months straight? What if your apartment is a tiny, freezing 6th-floor walk-up with terrible plumbing?
Sounds miserable.
What if you don't meet a community of inspiring artists, but instead find yourself isolated? And most importantly, what if you still can't paint?
Ouch.
Or let's say you are moving for a specific job that you think will finally give you prestige and happiness. What if that specific job falls through a month after you arrive?
That happens all the time.
What if the cost of living spikes, the culture is hostile, and you have to work twice as hard just to survive there? If the fantasy crumbles, if the idealized version of yourself fails to materialize, does the sheer geography of the place still hold fundamental value for you?
That is a brutal test.
It has to be.
Because if the answer is no, if the only reason you want to be in that specific zip code is because it serves as the necessary stage design for your fantasy of being a different person, then the moment reality hits, the stage completely collapses.
And you are left stranded in a foreign city with your same old self, minus the comfort of your familiar surroundings.
Which is the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't want to live there without the guarantee of the fantasy, you are almost certainly running away from your current location, rather than running toward a genuine, resilient opportunity.
You are seeking the feeling of solace, not the reality of the geography.
Right. And conversely, if you are running towards something real, if the magnet is strong enough, then even if the apartment is cold and the rain doesn't stop, you still have the core thing you came for.
Exactly.
If you move to a new city for a specific, rigorous graduate program that you are deeply passionate about, the fact that the local coffee shop is terrible and the weather is gloomy doesn't destroy your purpose. You are still in the program.
Right, the foundation is solid.
Or if you move to be near your sister to help raise her kids, and the traffic in her town is an absolute nightmare, the foundation is still solid because she is right down the street. You accept the gritty reality of the destination because the core purpose is rooted in something real, not something projected.
When you run towards something with approach motivation, you accept the reality of the destination, flaws and all. You are prepared to navigate its challenges.
Yeah.
When you run away using avoidance motivation, you subconsciously demand perfection from the destination.
Oh, that's so true.
You require the new city to be flawless because it has to compensate for all the pain, frustration, and exhaustion you were trying to leave behind.
And no city can bear that heavy of a burden.
No municipality has the infrastructure to support your unresolved emotional baggage.
You have to unpack the baggage yourself, regardless of what zip code you happen to be standing in.
Always.
It is the ultimate bottleneck of human growth. You can change the lighting, you can change the desk, you can buy a new monitor, but eventually you have to sit down and rewrite the corrupted code.
Which brings us back to the central theme of the geography of solace.
Let's bring it back.
The illusion of the fresh start is intoxicating precisely because it offers a socially acceptable, highly productive feeling project to manage instead of a painful psychological wound to tend to.
Yeah, packing boxes feels like progress.
But we have to recognize that the physical act of moving is just a very loud, very expensive distraction technique.
It really is. So what does this all mean for you listening to this right now? We started this deep dive looking at a very specific, highly relatable behavior scrolling through real estate in far-off places when the spreadsheet gets too bright and the mid-afternoon wall hits.
The 2.14 p.m. escape hatch.
Exactly. What this research warns us about is the danger of mistaking a change of scenery for a change of self. A new city won't fix your problems because you always pack yourself in the suitcase.
The software bug travels with the hardware.
While a new environment can offer a brief, powerful window of neuroplasticity, a temporary disruption of your old cue routine reward habit loops, true, lasting change requires knowing your own intentions.
Are you running toward a new chapter, pulled forward by a magnet of real, tangible value?
Or are you just sweating on the avoidance treadmill, fleeing your current discomfort, hoping the sheer exhaustion of the logistics will feel like actual progress?
It's a tough question to ask yourself.
It is. So the next time you catch yourself opening that new tab, browsing for a fresh start in a new city, use that moment as a trigger for self-reflection.
Pause and audit your motivations.
Apply the litmus test. Strip away the romantic lighting, the imagined morning jogs, the fantasy of the new you. Are you genuinely seeking geography? Or are you seeking solace?
Because if it is solace you are after, you don't need a moving van.
You need a mirror. You need to look at what you are desperately trying to escape, rather than where you are trying to go.
To help crystallize that, consider this final scenario for everyone listening.
Okay, let's hear it.
Imagine, right now, that a bizarre new law was passed, and you were legally forbidden from moving away from your current city for the next 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, 5 years. Nowhere to go.
You cannot change your external coordinates. The escape hatch of relocation is permanently sealed.
That's terrifying for some people.
It is. But if you are forced to stay exactly where you are, what internal move would you be forced to make right now? What conversation would you have to have? What boundary would you have to set? What habit would you have to break to find the exact same solace you were just looking for on a map?
Let that sit with you. The next time you open that real estate tab, remember that the only place you truly have to live, no matter where you go, is inside your own head. You might as well do the hard work of making the software run smoothly right where you are.
Thanks for spending this time with us on Coffee Break. If this conversation stayed with you, you can find more episodes here on the channel. Until next time, take care.